You made it through today. Maybe the day was, by any reasonable measure, fine, and still, somewhere in your chest, or your stomach, or the back of your throat, there is a quiet unease that has no clear reason. Your body is tired, but your mind is still gently turning. Tonight, nothing is required of you. You don't have to solve anything. You don't have to hold everything together. You can simply listen and let yourself be carried somewhere warm and safe. And tonight, we follow a woman named Iris, who discovers something unexpected on a late afternoon walk. A hidden greenhouse, warm and glowing, in the middle of an autumn garden. Inside, nothing is required of her except to breathe. And slowly, gently, her body begins to understand that it is safe. So, settle in now. Let your shoulders soften. You are in the right place tonight. She had been walking with no particular destination, because walking with no destination was what she did on the days when the anxiety was louder than usual. Not because it reliably helped. Sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. But because it gave the body something to do, a direction, a rhythm, which was better than sitting still with the tightness and trying to reason her way out of it. She had learned over years that reasoning rarely helped. The anxiety was not a rational thing and did not respond particularly well to rational arguments. You could not think your way out of it. You could only move through it, or sit with it, or wait for it to subside on its own. She had walked for 40 minutes through the town and then out along the lane that led toward the old estate. She had passed the lane many times without going down it, but today something drew her in that direction, and she had followed the feeling without questioning it. The estate was not open to the public in any formal sense, but the lane was a public right-of-way, and it led, she discovered, through a gate in a high stone wall and into a walled garden that had clearly once been maintained and was now maintained only loosely, with the particular beauty of places that have been given permission to be somewhat wild. Espalier fruit trees along the south wall, their branches bare, but their forms still formal, trained into shapes they had learned decades ago and held to from habit. A central path of old brick, soft with moss, running from the gate to the far wall. Beds on either side that had been something once and were now a mixture of that something and what the soil had produced uninvited. And at the far end, against the north wall, the greenhouse, she had not seen it immediately because the angle of the light was wrong, and because she had been looking at the path rather than ahead, which was often how she moved through the world when the anxiety was present, with her attention downward and inward rather than outward and forward. But when she looked up, she saw it, glass and old iron, perhaps 12 meters long, perhaps 4 meters wide, its glass clouded in places by age, and by the particular film that accumulates on greenhouse glass over decades. Its door slightly ajar, she had gone to it the way you go to things that feel before you have consciously decided they are right, like exactly where you are supposed to be. She pushed the door open. The smell reached her first. Warm earth. The particular green dark smell of things that have been growing in a closed space. Not sweet, not sharp, only deep and living and very immediately present. A trace of something floral she could not immediately identify. The smell of moisture, of clay pots, of the particular biological richness of a space that had been growing things for a very long time. She breathed it in and felt, before she had processed it, something in her chest release by a fraction. Just a fraction, just the very beginning of something. She stepped inside and closed the door behind her. Outside, the October wind continued. Inside, there was only warmth and green and the beginning of quiet. It was more beautiful than she had expected from the outside. Not beautiful in the curated way of formal gardens or show greenhouses. Nothing here had been arranged for aesthetics. It was beautiful in the way of things that have simply been left to pursue their own purposes over time. The staging along the north wall held terracotta pots in various sizes, some cracked, some whole, most occupied by plants in various stages of the season. The staging along the opposite wall held trays of seedlings, small labels pressed into the soil at angles, the writing on them too faded to read from where she stood. In the center of the space, a long wooden table. On it, tools, some soil, an empty pot turned on its side, a folded cloth. Everything arranged with the practical disorder of a space that was genuinely used, not staged, not maintained for visitors, only present, only real, only the evidence of a person who came here and worked and left things where they were when they were done. She moved slowly along the central path between the staging and the table. The plants on the left-hand staging were autumn plants, things that were still going, still green and purposeful, despite the season outside. Geraniums, their flowers mostly finished, but their stems still thick and their leaves still the particular dusty peppery smell she remembered from childhood, from her grandmother's kitchen windowsill. Ferns, several of them, in varying shades of deep green, their fronds long and undulating. Something she thought was a begonia, its leaves dark red-green, its flowers small and persistent, things whose names she didn't know. A trailing plant with soft leaves, a low sprawling thing with variegated foliage, a tall single stem with something at the top that had been a flower and was now a dried seed head of considerable beauty. She stopped beside the geraniums. She reached out and touched a leaf very lightly with two fingertips. It It was soft, slightly textured, a faint nap to the surface, like the underside of very fine velvet. Cool from the air, warm from the stem upward, she pressed very gently and felt the substance of it, the living material of it, the fact that this leaf was a thing that was alive and had its own temperature and its own texture and was right now real and present and completely indifferent to the anxiety she had been carrying all day. This was grounding. She knew this word, had heard it used in the context of anxiety management, had tried versions of it before with varying success. The idea was simple. When the mind was caught in its loops of anticipation and dread, return to what was physically present, not to your thoughts, not to your feelings, not to the future where all the things that might go wrong were waiting only to what was here. The texture of a leaf, the smell of earth, the temperature of the air on your skin. The anxiety did not disappear when she did this, but it changed quality. It moved from the foreground to the background. It became something she was aware of, rather than something she was inside. She stood with her fingers on the geranium leaf and breathed in the warm greenhouse air, the smell of earth, the faint green of living things filling her lungs. Out the accumulated tightness of the day, moving with the breath, loosening by the smallest fraction, and then a little more. She found a wooden stool near the back of the greenhouse and sat down. The stool was old and slightly uneven, one leg marginally shorter than the others, so that she had to find her balance on it in a particular way. She found it. The slight imperfection of the stool became, oddly, part of what was grounding about it, the need to be present in the body in order to sit on it without wobbling, the small physical adjustment that required her attention. Around her, the greenhouse. The light was changing as the afternoon moved toward evening, the clouded glass filtering what remained of the daylight into something soft and directionless, like the light inside a cloud. The plants were beginning to take on the slightly deeper, more emphatic quality of things seen in low light. The greens deeper, the shadows more present, everything a little more itself. She thought about her anxiety, not in the usual way, not the way she usually thought about it, which was with a mixture of frustration and defeat, the familiar internal sigh of, here it is again, and why can't I just, and I should be better at this by now. She thought about it differently. She tried to think about it the way you would think about any other part of yourself that was only doing what it was made to do. Her anxiety was a system, a threat detection system, specifically. One that had been designed over millennia of human evolution to keep people alive in genuinely dangerous situations. The racing heart, the shallow breath, the tightened muscles, the narrowed attention, the constant scanning for danger, all of this was not random malfunction. All of it was the body doing exactly what it had been built to do: prepare the organism for response. The problem was not the system itself. The problem was that the system could not easily distinguish between a genuine threat and the memory of a threat, or the anticipation of a threat, or a situation that resembled a past threat, or a completely abstract and theoretical threat that had never actually materialized and might never materialize. The system was old, and it was powerful, and it was not particularly precise. It responded to the thought of danger the way it responded to the presence of danger, which meant that for people like her, people with a well-developed threat detection system and a mind that was good at generating theoretical dangers, the alarm could be going off more or less constantly. Not because the world was actually that dangerous, only because the system was working very hard and was very good at its job, and had perhaps never quite received the message that the particular dangers it had been responding to for all these years were not the kind of dangers it was built to handle. She looked at the plants around her. They were simply growing. They did not spend their energy anticipating the frost. They did not tighten around themselves in preparation for the cold. They simply grew in the warmth available to them, using what was here rather than bracing for what was not yet here. She was not a plant. She knew this. The comparison was not perfect, but there was something in it that she wanted to hold. The body that braced was not her enemy. It was only her very dedicated, slightly confused ally, working from an old map in a changed territory, doing its very best with the information it had. She noticed, after a while, that she was no longer primarily in her head. This was unusual enough to be worth noting. On the days when the anxiety was loud, she was almost always primarily in her head, caught in the running commentary, the catalogue of concerns, the perpetual, slightly effortful monitoring of everything. The greenhouse was doing something to this. Not eliminating it, not dramatically quieting it, only offering enough sensory material that her attention had somewhere else to be. She looked around at what was present. The smell first. She had registered it when she walked in, but she had not attended to it fully. She attended to it now. The warm earth smell was the foundation of everything deep, slightly sweet. The particular richness of soil that had been amended over many seasons with organic matter that had received and decomposed and received again. Underneath it, something greener, sharper, the volatile oils of the geranium leaves nearby, activated by her touch, a faint dampness from the trays of seedlings, the particular smell of water on clay and soil, and something else, something she had been reaching toward since she walked in, and now found, the smell of the overwintering jasmine along the far wall, not in bloom, but releasing something residual from its stems and leaves, faintly sweet, faintly night-smelling even in the afternoon. She breathed through it slowly. The smell of a place was, she thought, the most immediate way into it, more immediate than sight, which could be kept at a distance, more immediate even than touch. You could not keep smell outside yourself. It entered you. It became part of your breath. It was already inside before you had decided what to do with it. The greenhouse was already inside her. The warmth, the earth, the green, the faint jasmine. She felt it in her lungs. She felt it in her shoulders, which had dropped without her asking them to. She felt it in the particular quality of her attention, which had shifted from sharp and scanning to something softer, more ambient. The anxiety was still there. She could feel it if she checked a lower register hum in the chest. But she was no longer inside it. She was beside it, looking at it from a slight distance, the way you can observe a sound without being consumed by it when the room offers enough other sounds to give it context. She looked at the bench along the south wall. Long wooden planks, worn smooth, the paint on them a history of several different colors, visible at the edges where the most recent layer had chipped away. Tools hanging on hooks above it, trowels, a small hand fork, a ball of soft green twine, a pair of secateurs whose blades caught the dimming light and reflected it briefly. A row of clay pots, nested, graduated in size from very small to quite large. Everything here had a purpose. Everything had been used, was used, would be used again. Nothing was decorative in the self-conscious way, only useful, worn, real. The beauty of it, such as it was, came entirely from this, from things being exactly what they were. She thought, I would like to be exactly what I am, not managing what I am, not apologizing for what I am, not working perpetually to make what I am more acceptable to the rooms I inhabit. Only this, exactly what I am, in the place where I am, doing what I am here to do. She got up from the stool and moved slowly along the staging on the left wall. She looked at each plant carefully, not studying them botanically. She had no particular knowledge of plants beyond the general, only attending to them, giving each one a few seconds of full attention in the way she had given attention to the geranium leaf, the fern, the begonia, the trailing plant she couldn't name, the tall, dried seed head. She stopped in front of a small pot near the end of the staging. In it was a plant she had almost walked past because it was not particularly beautiful or distinctive. A single stem, perhaps 20 centimeters tall, with a few leaves at intervals along it and 2 small flowers at the top, pale yellow, simple, the kind of flower that made no claims. She looked at it more carefully. It was flowering. In October, in a greenhouse that had clearly not been heated, that was warm only from the stored heat of the day and the insulating effect of the glass and the thermal mass of the soil and the pots. Outside, the temperature was perhaps 8 degrees. Inside, perhaps 15. And this plant was flowering. She thought about what it had taken to flower in October. The plant had no understanding of what it was doing, no intention in any conscious sense. It had only done what its nature told it to do, reached toward the available light, drawn up the available water, sent its energy toward expression. It had not waited for better conditions. It had not decided that October was not the right time, that it would wait until spring when conditions were more favorable, when the effort would be better rewarded. It had simply done what it was, in the conditions available to it. She thought about her anxiety in relation to this. The anxiety had also been doing what it was, working in the conditions available to it, doing what its nature told it to do, which was to prepare the organism for danger. It had not known that the danger was not coming. It had not had access to the information that would have allowed it to stand down. It had only kept going the way this plant kept going, using what was available, doing its work, persisting. She had been so frustrated with it for so long. She had felt at various times betrayed by it, imprisoned by it, exhausted by it, ashamed of it. She had wished in the low moments to simply not be the kind of person who had this, to be easier, to be the kind of person for whom the body's default setting was ease rather than vigilance. But standing here now, looking at this small October flower, she felt something shift in the way she understood the relationship. Her anxiety was not her enemy. It was not a flaw in her construction or a failure of her character. It was a system doing its job in a body that had at some point learned that vigilance was necessary and had continued to practice it with great dedication. You could not argue a system out of doing its job. You could only offer it evidence, over time, that the job did not need to be done quite so constantly. You could give it what it needed to slowly, incrementally update its threat assessment. You could, as she was doing right now, bring it somewhere warm and still and full of growing things, and let it experience in the body rather than in the mind that the world in this moment was not requiring its full attention. The small yellow flower continued to be exactly what it was. The light was going now in the way of October evenings, which had their own particular quality of departure. Not the long, slow fade of summer, but something quicker, more decisive, the afternoon stepping back with purpose. The greenhouse glass caught what remained of the light and held it in the way that glass held light at this hour. Dispersed, softened, turned into something that was no longer exactly light, but not yet dark. The plants cast longer shadows along the staging. The clay pots took on depth. The packed soil in the trays became very dark. She had been here for over an hour. She was aware of this, not because she had been watching the time her phone was in her coat pocket and she had not taken it out, but because of the quality of her body. The first hour of being somewhere new, even somewhere as immediately welcome as this, carried a slight orientation effort, a calibration. That effort had resolved. She was oriented now. She was, in a particular sense, that the body knew, but the mind took longer to catch up to hear. The anxiety was quieter. She did a gentle internal check, not the anxious kind of checking, the kind that looked for the anxiety in order to be alarmed by it, but the kind that simply wanted to know what was present. And what was present was a lower register version of what had been there all day, still there, not gone, but smaller, or rather she searched for the right description, less authoritative, less insistent that it be the main thing she was paying attention to. The main thing she was paying attention to was the greenhouse. The smell, which she was still aware of, which had become so familiar in the past hour that she would not be able to fully register it when she left, and the contrast was removed. The warmth, which was real and physical and entirely present, the sight of the plants in their evening colors, the sound, and this was something she had not focused on yet. She realized there was sound, the very faint tick of the glass contracting as it cooled, a sound so small she had not registered it as a sound until this moment. The movement of air through the small gap at the bottom of the door, not quite a draft, only the suggestion of one. She was in a body, in a place. This was all that was true in this moment. She was in a body, in a place, and the place was warm, and the body was becoming less tense, and the plants around her were simply being plants, and the October evening was doing what October evenings did, and none of it required anything from her except her presence. She had spent so much of her life trying to manage her way to safety, planning, anticipating, preparing, covering every angle, thinking through every eventuality, staying one step ahead of whatever it was the anxiety was warning her about. She had become very good at this. She had also become, in the process, someone who spent enormous amounts of energy in a future that had not happened yet, at the cost of the present that was happening right now. The present was this greenhouse, these plants, this hour. It asked nothing of her except to be here. She sat back down on the uneven stool and let herself, for the first time all day, simply be here. It arrived quietly, as the real understandings usually did, not as insight, not as revelation, not as the sudden clearing that was sometimes described in stories about transformation, only as a gentle, incremental settling of something that had been slightly out of alignment for a very long time. She was not in danger. She had not been in danger today. She had not been in danger yesterday, or last week, or for most of the days she could remember in which she had carried this low hum of vigilance through her hours. The anxiety had been responding to the possibility of danger, to the memory of danger, to patterns that resembled danger, to the theoretical landscape of all the things that could go wrong. But the actual present moment danger that the system was designed to respond to had not been there. And here in the greenhouse, with the plants going on around her and the glass holding the warmth and the evening coming in, this was very clear. She was safe. Completely, actually, right now, safe. And her body, which had been braced all day for something that had not come, was beginning to receive this information. Not instantly, the body was slower than the mind to update, which was part of what made anxiety so persistent. But slowly, through the warmth and the smell and the particular quality of this enclosed, growing, living space, the information was arriving. You are safe. The threat has not materialized. You can stand down. She thought of the anxiety differently now than she had this morning. This morning, it had been the thing that was making her day hard. The problem, the thing she had to manage and work around and try not to let show. Now it looked more like a very dedicated part of herself that had been working without rest for a very long time, doing a job that was genuinely important in a world that had genuinely asked that job of it at some point. A part of herself that had learned early that vigilance was what was required and had been practicing vigilance ever since, because that was what it had been taught was necessary. It had been trying to keep her safe. In its exhausting, overworking, imprecise, perpetually slightly wrong about the current situation way, it had been trying to keep her safe. She had spent years being frustrated with it, wishing it would stop, feeling betrayed by it, treating it as the enemy. What if she treated it differently? What if she approached it for a little while with something closer to the feeling she had toward the small October flower, a recognition of its persistence, its effort, its dedication to doing its job in the conditions available to it? Not acceptance in the sense of giving up, not permission to keep running, only acknowledgement, Only the quiet recognition that this part of her had been working very hard for a very long time and was not at its root her enemy. It had never been her enemy. It had only ever been trying, in the only way it knew, to be on her side. Outside, the October night had arrived properly. Inside the greenhouse, the warmth held. The plants continued in the dark the way plants continued, quietly, without drama, doing what they were made to do. She would need to leave soon. She was aware of this without urgency. The evening was fully dark now, the greenhouse visible only by what the dim interior light of the glass gave back from the sky, a faint luminescence, more than darkness, the particular glow of a glass house at night. That was one of the most beautiful things she had ever seen, and that she had not known was one of the most beautiful things she had ever seen until this moment. She was in no hurry. This was noticeable because hurry was her default, the sense of needing to move on to the next thing, the low-grade impatience with the present moment that was itself a feature of the anxiety, the sense that the present was a place you transited through rather than inhabited. She had been inhabiting the present for the past hour and a half, and she had not, she found, lost anything. The anxiety was still there. She wanted to be honest about this. She was not leaving the greenhouse cured. She was not going to walk out into the October night and find that the frequency had been switched off, that her body had learned its lesson, that from now on she would be easy. This was not how it worked. The greenhouse had not fixed her, but something had shifted. She carried something now that she had not carried when she walked in, and it was not a technique or a strategy or a piece of advice. It was only this, a slightly different understanding of the thing she lived with, a slight reduction in the adversarial quality of her relationship with it, a small tentative movement toward something that was closer to companionship than combat. The anxiety was part of her. It had always been part of her. It was not going to leave, but she could carry it differently. She could carry it the way the greenhouse carried the October cold, aware of it, accommodating of it, but also enclosing the warmth that was hers, holding her own temperature, growing her own things inside the glass. She stood up from the stool. She moved slowly along the staging one more time, passing the geraniums, the ferns, the begonia, the small yellow flower that was still flowering. She touched the geranium leaf one more time, lightly, the soft nap of it cool against her fingertips. She would come back. She did not know if this was possible. She did not know who tended this greenhouse, whether it was private, whether she would be welcome, but she would find out. And if she could not come back to this greenhouse specifically, she would find another. She understood something now about what this kind of place did for her. The enclosure, the warmth, the living things growing in the dark season, the smell of soil and green. She would not let it be the only time. She pushed open the glass door and stepped out into the October night. The cold met her with its clean, complete reality. She breathed it in. Then she began the walk home. She was home by 8. She made tea and sat at the kitchen table with it, not on her phone, not with the television on, only with the tea and the quiet of the house and what remained of the greenhouse still in her, the smell of it, which was already fading from her clothes, which she would miss when it was gone, the warmth of it, which she had carried home in her body and which was dissipating now into the cooler air of the house but was still present if she paid attention. She was tired. A different tiredness than she had been carrying all day. Not the wound-tight tiredness of sustained vigilance, the exhaustion of a body that had been braced for too long. Something looser, tiredness of a long walk, of an afternoon of being present, of a body that had worked and was now genuinely ready for rest. She thought about going to bed. She thought about the anxiety, which was still with her. She could feel it if she checked the familiar low register. But she did not feel the need to do anything about it. It was there. She was here. The two could coexist as they always had, as they probably always would. She was simply less opposed to the coexistence than she had been this morning. She thought about the small yellow flower, about the plant that had no knowledge of what it was doing, no intention, no plan, that had only grown toward the available light, in the available warmth, in the conditions of October, without waiting for better conditions. She was going to try to do this. Not perfectly, not starting from tomorrow, only as a general direction toward what was available in the conditions that were actual, without endless preparation for conditions that might be better later. The tea was almost finished. She looked at the cup. She looked at the kitchen around her, the ordinary, inhabited kitchen of her ordinary, inhabited life, the life she had been managing her way through while the anxiety told her at low volume all day that something was not quite right. Something was quite right. Everything was quite right. The kitchen was warm. The tea was good. The greenhouse had been exactly where it needed to be. And she was exactly where she was, which was home, which was safe, which was whatever the anxiety said about it enough. She went to bed. The bedroom was dark, the way she liked it, curtains that blocked most of the light, only a thin line at the edge where the street lamp outside reached in. She lay down and felt the mattress receive her, and felt in the same moment her body understand that this was where the day ended, that there was nothing more required, that the job of the day, all of it, including the managing, including the carrying, including the walking and the greenhouse and the understanding, was done, she breathed in the cool bedroom air, a trace still of the greenhouse smell in her hair, the particular smell of her own sheets, clean and familiar. She breathed out. The anxiety was there, quieter, still doing its job as it always did, as it probably always would. She let it. She did not argue with it or try to reason it away or tell it to stop. She only let it be there, the way you let a worried friend sit beside you without requiring them to stop worrying. You are here, she thought toward it. I know you are here. I know you are trying. You can rest now. Nothing is required tonight. She felt something in her chest loosen very slowly, in the way of things that have been held tight for a long time, and release in increments rather than all at once. The plants in the greenhouse were going on in the dark, growing in the only way they knew how to grow, in the conditions available to them, in the season that was actual, without waiting for better. She was going to learn to do this. Not tonight. Tonight, she was only going to rest. Tonight, the only thing required was this: the mattress, the dark room, the slowed breath, the gradual loosening of the day. Tomorrow, the anxiety might be louder again, or quieter. She did not know, but she knew where the greenhouse was now. She knew what it felt like to be warm and enclosed and surrounded by living things in the dark season. She knew what it felt like to let the body receive safety rather than just being told it. And she knew in the quiet way that felt more true than the anxious commentary that the body bracing for danger was not her enemy. It was only trying, in its exhausted and devoted way, to love her. In, out. The greenhouse in the dark, its glass glowing faintly. The small yellow flower still open. The October night doing what October nights did, and Iris exactly where she was, breathing, resting, enough. Sleep well, dear one. You are safe, and the night will hold you.